Bow down before my psycho power.
Arslan has been putting out a couple of tweets, and I made videos about some of these things in the past. Like, I think this one is pretty fascinating, where he talks about 7 changes that he wants done with Tekken 8. I'm not going to read all of these, but I think it's good to read some of this stuff. I do think this one's pretty interesting. The Yoshi sword crouching, that's its unblockable low. Arslan is saying to make it 30 to 35 frames. I do think that's pretty interesting because the unblockable sword attack doesn't work at like really high ranks. Like, if you listen to like an iMusician or like really like high level Yoshi's describe this move, they will say that it only works in an Oki situation. Now, it is very powerful in Oki situations, but at the same time, that's the only situation it works. So if you decrease the frames from 30 to 35, then it no longer works in Oki situations. And then it also doesn't work anywhere, at least in high level. In high level, the move becomes useless. At low level, you still probably would be able to like get people, because like there's certain people who I walk up to and I do the low unblockable, and they don't even try to block, they don't even try to defend, they just get hit. So basically, like, I could have did any low and hit them if you're not reacting, right? But this will make it to where there's a lot less people who are getting hit barely reacting, because that's something that happens a lot, where like you input the button but you're just off by like a fraction of the second, a couple of frames, and then all of a sudden Yoshimitsu's clapping your cheeks, right? Is in, what is this tweet here? He had this tweet here where he says, I've been playing fighting games for years, and one thing's for sure, there's always some system or character issues. No game's perfect, and that's okay. Lately, it feels like guessing and being aggressive are key. To balance it, I think first to 3 match should be a thing in upcoming tournaments, at least from top 32 to top 16 onwards. It gives us more time to guess our opponent's 50-50s. I mean, we already are putting in work, practicing hours on it. So this is pretty interesting, right? He's saying that if the game is going to be more about guessing, and guessing is just flipping a coin, right? They should then give the players more time to figure out which guess they're going to go with. For example, a Heihachi player, when they're doing their little 50-50s, they could do their guard break or they could do their mid. The first time you run into that, you're basically going off of what Heihachis as a whole do the most. But once you face that Heihachi long enough, you can figure out exactly what that Heihachi does. So basically, that's what he's talking about. Is like, give the players more time to figure out what this person likes to go for. And then that way, you can find the skill in all of the guessing. First to 3 format, it takes far longer than best to 2. So I don't know if doing it in top 32 is best, or if top 16 is best, or if top 8. But once again, Arslan's take. Now we have a more recent tweet. This one is 8 hours at the time of recording, and this one is probably going to get some flack, right? I've been watching Capcom Cup for 3 days now. Ever since whoever this person is said Street Fighter 6 is the best game, I disagree. Some situations are way worse than Tekken, especially those wall throw loops. One wrong guess and it's GG's. Too many things are out of control. How is that the best fighting game? Now, it's pretty interesting that he's talked about throw loops, because I talk about all the time how throws in Tekken are like absurd. I made a couple of videos now talking about throws being just too much. When I say these things, like, players get very angry at me, but I'm just trying to like look at the game from multiple different perspectives. I don't think it's fair to just tackle the game from the sole perspective of someone who's really good at the game. I try to look at the game from someone who's new, from someone who's, whatever, right? So when I do posts like this, do you think throws are too hard? There's 9,300 votes on this. 70% says no. 30% says yes. For all the people who says yes, I just try to think of why they feel this way and how the game can help them understand and become a part of the 70%. I'm not talking about these things to make the game easier and remove skill. I'm just trying to figure out what is preventing the 30% from joining the 70%. So that's something that I do often. But going back to this tweet from Arslan Ash, when I talk about throws for Tekken 8, people do bring up how Street Fighter throws are worse. It is pretty interesting. People think of Street Fighter as like the gold standard of fighting games currently. We have this clip here. I believe this is the person that Arslan is talking about. We'll listen to what this person says.
Street Fighter 6 now is the best fighting game in the world. It's so interesting. Everything it have. So I want to be strong for this game.
Which I don't disagree with. I don't know too much about Guilty Gear, so I can't really weigh in on that game. But I do think, when you're talking about current fighting games that you can buy, Street Fighter is probably the best in terms of gameplay. But there is things that I think Tekken does better, like offering a story. Even though the story is trash, there's still a story there to take. You can also talk about getting to test out the DLC characters for free in said story. You can also talk about the customization that Tekken offers. Wasn't there like some kind of like leak or rumor that Street Fighter was going to try to do like a Tekken style customization? Maybe that was just a rumor and it's not actually going to happen. But my point is that, you know, and also you could talk about Street Fighter's music being terrible and their stages being terrible. They knock it out of the park in terms of gameplay, but when it comes to like some other things, I think Tekken is far better than Tekken. But while I say that, as Finn is saying in the chat right now, did you play Street Fighter? Yes, I did play Street Fighter, but I am not nearly as good at Street Fighter as I am at Tekken. At Tekken, I'm Tekken God Supreme right now, right? I am the second. I am one away from max rank. In Street Fighter, I am a scrub. I love Modern Control JP. Without Modern Control's JP, I'm cooked. You can also use normal JP and just spam like the actual inputs. I could do that as well. And you can also talk about the comparisons between the special style and modern controls. I think modern control is a much better version of like an easy control. The special style is horrible. It would take too long to compare the two different things. I also think Fatal Furies, I can't remember what they called their thing, so I'll just call it modern control as well. But Fatal Furies modern control is also done really well as well. And I just think it is interesting. We just look across the board at all of these different fighting games and how they're all doing this, all doing that. But yeah, my skill in Street Fighter isn't nearly as high as Tekken, so I can't really go too deep into the nuances of gameplay. But still, with that being the case, I do think that just generally Street Fighter seems to be the better game currently. Now Tekken 8 Season 2 could definitely wipe it out off the map, but that has to be seen, right? So he says that he disagrees that Street Fighter is the best game, but I'm interested to see what game he think is the best game, because didn't Arslan Ash say that Tekken makes him depressed? Maybe he thinks KOF is better because so this is one tweet here from Arslan Ash where he's saying, been playing Tekken 8 for a year. I still don't get why strong defense is a bad thing. Never seen other fighting games. It's ridiculous. Give us defensive options, please. So he probably would think that KOF is the best fighting game currently. I wish I understood Street Fighter's throw loop situation so I can understand why it's so absurd, because that's something that players talk about a lot. And when you see these tournaments and you see players locked in a corner, you will see them get off like 4 throws, right? And this is something that you don't see in Tekken, right? In Tekken, you can't really throw someone multiple times unless you're king and you like throw them on the ground and then you do a ground throw. He's like kind of like the only ones who could do like throws like that, right? But with Street Fighter, everyone gets you in the corner and they do like 5 throws and they kill you. But also at the same time, do Street Fighter players like that? You know, like how Tekken players like to look at the hands, do Street Fighter players like to be in a corner, you know, dealing with throws and whatever the other thing is that's allowing that situation to happen? Or do they want something different? That's something that I think is important to consider. It's like, we can think I think Tekken 8 throw system is trash, right? But the players overall like it. So Arslan thinks that Street Fighter's throw loops are trash, but how do Street Fighter players feel about it? Generally, not everyone, but 90% of the cast, yeah. Street Fighter had throw loops for a long time. So it seems like it's the same situation with Tekken, where both of these games have throw mechanics that can be considered pretty obnoxious, but they existed for a very long time. And as such, with things that exist for a very long time, it's not going to change. Things that change are things that's more newer. The more older this something is, the harder it is to get it to change. Let's look and see if someone quoted him. Street Fighter has the biggest player base and is the most popular fighting game. I knew the quotes was going to be crazy. But this is why I was talking about Arslan's perspective on Tekken, because he probably doesn't think Tekken is better. He probably thinks KOF is better. Let's look at this tweet now. This is another tweet he did. For me, the best fighting games are the ones where you really gotta work at it. Learn how to handle tough situations, and where the better player usually wins. Losing should be because of skill, not luck. Tekken 7 without Akuma was perfect. Stuff like having strong defense being bad in Tekken 8, those 50-50s that are plus on block and lead to a full combo. Throw loops in Street Fighter, total garbage. So this is exactly what I was saying. He does think that Tekken 8 is trash as well. And I would agree. And this is why I'm happy that Arslan Ash said that, because for some random reason, everyone just unanimously kind of agreed that Tekken 7 is worse than Tekken 8. Now, I'm not saying you have to like Tekken 7, but Tekken 7 is the game that revitalized the franchise. It is the game that, boosted the tournament scene. It created the Tekken World Tour. It broke the records. If you exclude Akuma, Geese, DLC, Pay to Win, which they're doing the same thing in Tekken 8, we can sit here and argue about characters all day. But the one difference that I think, there is nothing in Tekken 7 that is as egregious or unfair as the heat system is in Tekken 8. Some people would say counter hits and like keep out game. But even then, there is still the opportunity to, get in on your opponent. There is still the opportunity to outtime your opponent. There is still there's many opportunities. In Tekken 8, they activate heat, and you literally just have to you could close your eyes and just decide to crouch or stand, and the results would be the same. It's literally guessing. It's literally, whether you have eyeballs, ears, a nose, a mouth, fingers, it doesn't matter. You're just guessing. And in Tekken 7, there was very few situations where you had no type of But then also, what I think as well, if you look at the current state, every player is waiting for Season 2 because we want to see if they live or if they die. Do they change or do they stay the same? And a lot of players are drawing the line. They say if Season 2 is not good, that is it. Never during the entire life of Tekken 7 did players do that. Season 3, Season 4, never. Never did players say this Season Pass better be good or else. And in the first year of Tekken 8, players are doing that. So when Arslan Ash says this about Tekken 7, I agree. With Tekken 7, the developers turned a good thing bad. The game was really good, but as they continued to add new moves, as they continued to add mechanics, power crush, wall bounce, as they continued to buff characters, the game turned sour. And in Tekken 8, they're doing some things, we'll see how, buffing and nerfing goes, new mechanic goes, but we already have the confirmation of new moves. So we'll see if those new moves are as powerful as they were in Tekken 7. We'll see if these tools are as obnoxious as they were in Tekken 7, and we'll see if they are strong enough to alter the way you play characters. I said this before and I'll say it again. Those new moves that Yoshimitsu was given in Season 3, Season 2, I am still using to this day and bodying people. That is crazy when a move is that powerful, when it's dominating 2 games. When, they do that in Tekken 8, will that happen again? Will that happen again where Yoshimitsu's given another move and now I'm using that move to body everyone for another 5-10 years? But I do think it's important that we talk about what these fighting games are doing, Street Fighter, Tekken, etc. Because a lot of these games are going down this path of doing 50-50s, trying to reduce scale. Some are doing it better than others. But at the end of the day, we have a real problem on our hands, and we have to make sure that the developers don't just completely throw away what made fighting games so special. Fighting games, in my opinion, were special because it was so cool that I could fight someone and we had a tool set, and if you know that tool set, you could counter it, and you can do this, you could do that, and it's I like that battle. I like the fairness of it. Of course there's characters that you would think is obnoxious. Of course balancing won't be perfect, but it was you had the opportunity. In fighting games nowadays, there's a lot of things that makes you feel like you have no opportunity. You have no opportunity to defend yourself. And I am happy that the Tekken developers acknowledge that, That is a huge step. They literally said that, yeah, we made this game too aggressive, and, we want to do this and do that, right? So peak viewership for Tekken 7 was 211,000. Peak viewership for Street Fighter was 162,000. Peak viewership for Where's Smash was 233,000. So Tekken was not far off. Thanks for sending this, because it puts it into perspective of what Tekken 7 was doing, because people forget. Oh wait, what's happening? My mouse. Uh-oh, I think my computer's, wait, what? Is my computer crash? No. What is that? What is that? Did you see that? Why does that happen all the time? Did you see that? Oh my God, this is terrible.